Hello there, I'm Anna from Northeast Animal Rights. Welcome to another one of our short videos around all things vegan. Today I'm talking about Christmas. So what is Christmas? We know that Jesus, if you believe he existed, was probably born in the spring, and his birth date was moved from the spring to coincide with the winter festivals. In theory, it was to make more people involved in the celebration. But what is a thread running through the whole season, no matter how you celebrate or mark it or what you believe in? Isn't it kindness? Does it just stop at your family or your friends, or should it extend to all people, to all animals and our planet as well? Why does it take a festival like Christmas before we decide to be kind, to do a food collection or a charity donation? Why can't we be kind all year round? And why do we use this celebration or event as an opportunity for excess spending, eating and drinking, as well as the mass slaughter of animals? We know that the season uses a mixture of pagan, Christian, Danish, Norwegian, American customs. There's also a heavy Victorian influence with a lot of our family traditions thrown in as well. And how long does a tradition have to take place to continue to be called a tradition? Let's look at some of the common ones. So Christmas cards, first of all, they were invented, if you like, in 1843 by Sir Henry Cole, who was the first, the equivalent of today's Postmaster General. And he asked for them to be designed by his friend John Callcott Horsley, because he recognised that the postal service, obviously, which was pretty new in those days, was very, very quiet around the Christmas period. So it was a commercial invention. Advent calendars, again, were invented by Gerard Lang in the 20th century. So this is, again, another commercial invention. Christmas trees were originally just trees decorated outside to celebrate the winter solstice. We know that Prince Albert was credited with bringing the ideas from Germany over to the UK, and we now have them inside as well. Christmas pudding, or the figgy pudding, which is referred to in some of the Christmas songs, has been around since the 1400s and traditionally had animal fat as well as all of the herbs and spices and fruit that we know today. Santa Claus, called by a variety of names around the world. I think most people will agree that that St. Nicholas is pretty much the basis of Santa Claus. He was a bishop in the 3rd century, and he's more associated with the traditional Santa Claus that we know now. He was a patron saint of children, patron saint of sailors, wolves, pawnbrokers, thieves, sex workers, and prisoners. So quite a wide remit there. He's had many, many makeovers over the centuries, but the laughing, jolly, bearded man that we know in a red coat is actually a commercialised version of the green-coated man that Coca-Cola used and changed, obviously, to reflect their branding and to advertise their drinks. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer was created by an employee of a department store in 1939 in the US as part of their Christmas preparations. So this is another part of a tradition which we've pounced on. It actually hasn't been around that long, but we're using this one to exploit animals around the world for a fictional character from an advertising campaign. This actually leads me onto the reason for today's video. One of the lazy ways in which some of the backward thinking councils and companies are choosing to mark Christmas is by exploiting reindeer. And other animals as well. We know that donkeys have been used, sheep are being used, penguins in parades and meet the reindeer events as well. But let's be clear, reindeer are not native to this country. They should be living in the tundra, the North Pole area, Alaska, Canada, Scandinavia and the like, not anywhere in the UK. They are not native to this country. They certainly should not be on farms or being called free range whilst being bred for commercial gain. Yet hundreds of them are. They're put into trucks, transported around the country and wheeled out at shameful events because event organisers cannot think of anything more imaginative. There is significant evidence of the stress caused to these intelligent, beautiful animals, and all of the leading animal charities are strongly opposed to their use. Got a couple of examples here. Okay. This is Animal Aid and Freedom for Animals literature for this subject. But also check out Freedom for Animals website as well. There's a lot of information there about all the leading charities giving a statement and what, as to their reasons why they are opposed to these events. The Wild Animals and Circuses Act in 2019 was brought in on the back of public opinion, but because the public strongly opposed animals being used for entertainment. And this is actually just the same. It's animals being used for entertainment, human entertainment and commercial gain. Now this year, because obviously last year's lockdown, clearly the animal exploiting companies feel the need to make up for lost time and money. And we've seen a number of local events popping up around the northeast. And we're going to do like a roll call of shame of events that we've noticed in the area. And then I'm going to talk about how we can help the reindeers in these events. So we have currently on Santa's naughty list, we have Northeast Family Fun, which is a website. advertising, among other things, where you can meet the reindeer. Bamburgh Castle, Royal Quays in North Shields, Kielder Winter Wonderland, Tanhill Pub in Richmond, Plants Plus Garden Centre are having donkeys, Richardson Garden Centre, and we also have councils, Bishop Auckland are having reindeer and sheep, Middlesbrough and Stockton actually have two events, one at the Preston Park Museum and one which is a static event, and also they have reindeer in the parade. But what can you do to help? Actually, first of all, there was what I'm just going to go back because Dalton Park actually did have reindeers in a parade, which has already happened. But based on feedback they have already received from people like us and visitors to Dalton Park, they have already agreed to look at something different for next year. So thumbs up to Dalton Park for listening to the feedback and actually thinking that we need to do something different. It's the right thing to do. So going back to what we're saying there, what you can do to help. First of all, boycott the events. Don't go to them, but tell the organisers why you're not going. Contact them formally by email if you can, rather than a phone call, because it's better to have like a formal record of your conversation, and politely ask them to reconsider. They'll usually send you a standard response, which also means they're expecting to get negative feedback. So they will have this already drafted up, and this will be shot out back to you because they know they're going to get complaints about it. And some of them the companies are actually already preparing responses for the councils or the organisations to send out. So again, this is kind of proven that they know they're going to come up against opposition. These responses, the ones we've seen already, are based around welfare. The animals are not exploited; they're very well looked after. Their welfare is paramount. All the sort of like normal stuff which is being trotted out, absolutely ridiculous. But go back to these, when you get these responses, go back to them and tell them to answer your specific questions rather than sending a standard response. Take a little bit more time, ask them to spend a little bit more time on your reply and to make sure your voice is heard. Tell them that it sends an awful message to children who are at the core of these events. This is who they are trying to attract, the children with the parents who are the spending power, okay? So tell them that this is not a way to let children know that it is okay to exploit animals and treat animals as commodities. Tell them that there's significant evidence of the distress and stress caused, and not just mental anxieties caused the animals, but physical stresses, injuries in transport and injuries because the animals are stressed and jostling against each other in captivity. Include the link from Freedom for Animals as well. Do not be fobbed off. If it's the council event, do an FOI, which is a Freedom of Information request. They are all obliged, as a publicly funded organisation, they are obliged to respond to your request for information. So send them an FOI. They absolutely hate it. Ask them how many complaints they've had about this specific event. Ask them how much of taxpayers' money they have spent. Now remember, this is your money. Councils are spending your taxes on doing events like this. So if you don't want your money to be spent this way, you're quite within your right to object about it and make sure your voice is heard again. When you get the information, send it through to Freedom for Animals or send it through to Animal Aid or send it through to us. And we will obviously, we're kind of like compiling some information to make sure that we can reduce the number of these awful events going on. If you go into an event where you hadn't expected animals to be part of, take some video footage, get some photographs and send them to us as well, so we can use them, in future campaigns. But also, try and catch up with an event organizer there, Marshall, and tell them that that the use of animals is completely inappropriate, and then you wouldn't have gone to the event had you known that they were going to be there. If you hear or see of an event being advertised, which I haven't mentioned on that roll call of shame there, please contact Freedom for Animals, contact Animal Aid, or contact us so we can combine our efforts and try to make event organisers listen. Please grant Rudolph's only wish this Christmas, which is not to be exploited for human gain. Okay. I'm going to sign off now. Thank you very much for listening. I hope that's given you lots of information about how we can help reindeers and other animals which are going to be exploited this year for human entertainment. If you want any more information, please message the page or email us at northeastanimalrights@hotmail.com. If you like what we do, please like our pages, our posts, follow our pages, share our links, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. So this is Anna Amelia signing off now, saying please grant Rudolph's wish and don't exploit animals this Christmas. And thank you for listening. Bye.